How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have LJR with us. He can say his name, what he does, and anything else he wants to talk about.
Sweet, dude. Brandon, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here. My name's Luke. LJR is the artist name I go by. I used to stand for Luke Justin Roberts. So I guess it still does, but just kind of too much of a mouthful. And so I shortened it up and released my debut album. It's about 12 songs. And the genres span all sorts of stuff for the album. Lots of different emotional feelings and different vocal textures and sounds. I guess embracing all the different influences from my youth and the things that I've loved the most. And then of course, my own special journey going through life, just as everybody does. So
there we go. Well, obviously the first question, how did you kind of start out writing music? Is your family very musical? Like, what kind of got you into music? How did you find the love to write music, create music, and then ultimately, wanting to do your own thing as a solo project? Have you been in bands? Just give me the Luke origin story pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, so the Luke origin story, it started off with my dad playing shows. He used to play in a band.
Very cool.
And they would, we'd be his roadies for all of his shows, carrying the drum set and all that sort of stuff, and loading and unloading and watching the shows. And so I was always surrounded by music growing up. And my dad also was really big in the church worship group and everything. Okay. And we got involved in that really young. And that was a really big part of my music education growing up, was kind of the whole non-denominational worship music environment. Totally bought into that. Very, very committed, evangelical, not just from the, musical standpoint, but also from the faith perspective. Playing drums, eventually started singing and playing piano, writing my own songs when I was about, I want to say around 7th grade.
Okay.
Because my dad got my mom a grand piano for their anniversary. Cool. For the 25th wedding anniversary, and they got 2 tickets to go to Carnegie Hall and see some cool. They went on the train up there from Maryland and got to see some gorgeous concert, and it was really cool. But of course, it meant that I got a piano, so then I started just dinking around on it, and I really loved the sound of it, and I started to write some songs. I guess technically, when I was a lot younger, I started writing some little worship songs, just literally singing into my pillow, because back then I don't know where I got it from, but I thought that only girls sang. It's very weird. Some of the weird things you think as a kid, man.
Oh, I'm sure,
it's so
yeah.
Strange. But I was like, I can't sing. That would be super weird. So I'm singing into my pillow, and writing songs. And there's definitely one time my mom came in and was like, "Luke, are you okay?"
I'm just singing.
And I was like, I was pretending to be asleep, and I was like, "Huh? What? Oh yeah, I'm fine." And just pretend to go back to sleep, because I was so scared that she thought I was singing. But it was kind of crazy. But I think middle school and high school were some of the most what's the word? Engaging and deep experiences that I had in terms of music.
Mm-hmm.
For a variety of reasons. One was, when you combine music with some sort of strong mission, trying to save people from their sins and everything, there's a lot of this intensity that comes with it, right? There's a lot of intensity that comes with music just in general. But that, I think, added a lot to it. And our youth pastor was very intentional about getting us to visually express what it was that we were doing and what we were, really about, and this whole God thing, right? So there's a lot of on stage, performance of and display of the passion that you have for God. And it was kind of cool, because that, of course, translates over into just normal performing in normal life. So that was cool to get some of that training kind of back then. And then with my brothers, we started having a band. And I guess before it was both of my brothers and I, it was just me and my older brother, Daniel. And we went through a couple of different bass players before my little brother, Michael, jumped on. And he became our sweet, awesome younger brother bass player with super long red hair, down to here. And he would just whip it around. And it was pretty crazy. But so we wrote a lot of songs together. We played out a bunch together. We actually had a fairly decent following around the Baltimore area at the time.
Very cool.
But it was called Band of Brothers, and there actually is a CD out there. It's on Spotify. I think it's a little cringe at this point for sure. Production value, you're not quite there. But it was, it's cool. It's cool to have something special from, that time.
Yeah.
And there's some songs to look at and go like, that wasn't too bad. My voice is also really different back then. Back then I used to sing with like the whole, like really airy, like, hey, that kind of like very, very airy sort of sound.
Yeah.
And since then I've learned to add a lot more weight to my voice. I think what I was doing back then with that very breathy sound actually was kind of damaging to my vocal cords, which is why I couldn't do it for as long as I was hoping.
I'd imagine.
Eventually, my voice just got tired. But after doing that stuff, that band broke up. I was doing, worship stuff till I was probably about 20 or 22.
Okay.
I think about 22, and that's when I ended up starting to. The doubt had kind of been creeping in for a while. But I ended up losing my faith over the next number of years, going through a lot of questioning and just things not really making sense or matching up to my experience anymore. So I didn't really have that, kind of musical outlet anymore. And it was then that Daniel and I started doing this duo together where we would kind of do looping and we'd both sing and he would play guitar and bass, kind of using his acoustic guitar. And I would play, the cajon and sing. And it was a cool duo thing, and we called that They'll Have Dreams. And we did a full band album of that for a while. And that was pretty cool. People seemed to really, really like it, but we didn't really... We had a lot of our own, things we hadn't really resolved as brothers, and that didn't end up working out in the end. So then we kind of split off and started doing our own things. And since then, that's kind of when I started doing the covers on YouTube, and that was the past like 3 years. I wanted to get this album out earlier, but it didn't really happen that way. I couldn't seem to make the original stuff happen as much because whatever internal blocking is going on. And then when I would release an original song, because I did a couple of them that I've since taken down because a lot of them are on the album. It was all self-produced and self-mixed, and I'm not a mixing engineer. I'm none of that stuff. So there were ways in which it just wasn't, what you would expect on some sort of professional, thing. And so that took a couple of years kind of working through all that stuff. And eventually I really, made the decision to push to go to, let's just really make this album happen. I'd worked through enough stuff personally that the artistic blocks weren't really keeping me back as much anymore. I had a good friend who gave me a good deal on, mixing, worked with my brother on the producing. He gave me a nice deal on that, which was great too. So it's turned out better than I could have hoped. And yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what the future has. Hopefully this year will be the year that I can kind of be full time with the music. We'll see. I've got a whole automated marketing system set up for, new fans and stuff, and they seem to be liking it, and they're buying merch and everything. So that's cool. But I'm hoping that next year I can actually start to really go out and tour and play some real shows and try to create those sacred experiences with people. So I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of from point A to point B.
No, I it's funny because like I always have this like conversation like after the fact with like artists I have on, and they're just like the whole conversation between like people on the internet, like this whole interaction of interviewing is always like I wouldn't say jarring because it's not a bad thing, but like it's very like I'm used to it because I've been doing it for 5 years, so it feels very natural. But like your whole story is like point for point very similar to like my story and like how I got into music and why I care about music a lot. And so like when you were telling me about your story and your background and stuff, I was like, it's so wild that it's so similar to like what you're experiencing and what you've gone through and stuff like that like it's like we've been friends for like a while. And it's so like I'm sure you like you get these experiences that are so like your own experience, and you're like there's no way that this person could experience the exact same things that I've experienced. And so for me, I felt like your whole story kind of encapsulated like how I got into music, like and like how I feel about like, and I'm not here to slander religion at all or anything, but like I feel the same way about it, and like that was kind of like pretty similar to like my story and stuff like that. So like I'm no, I don't want to say that I'm relieved to know that that is a reality, but like it's I would say it's like slightly comforting to know that it's not, that you're not the only one who goes through those sorts of things. So like, I appreciate you for speaking out about it. I'm sure it was a tough experience, a tough journey, but like obviously it's, made you a better writer, made you a better musician, and like has pushed you to kind of like go out and do stuff, and like that's awesome. So shout outs to you, Luke, because that
Thanks, man.
Listen, I know how that feels. So but
yeah, man, it's a lot. It's cool. We should totally chat more about that, because I think it is. I found it's the same thing. It is rare to find people that have really had that same experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I know, they ended up finding that for them it's staying in religion was like a good thing, and it was helpful to them. And for me, I discovered, because of my upbringing, it ended up being more damaging for me than it was healthy to stay in that. Yeah, so we'll have to stay connected, because there's not a whole lot of people that really get that. I'm hoping one of the things that's interesting with the album is that originally, when I was kind of pushing the idea like, oh, I'm starting this album and everything, I was much more in a headspace where I thought my primary thing and what the album was about was that it was like this, I'm not a Christian anymore. I thought I was like, I lost my faith, and that needs to be kind of this defining thing about this story.
Sure. Yeah.
And for a long time, I thought it was, for a number of years, because it was, a huge loss, and probably one of the hardest things I went through, losing that, because, your whole identity, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, sold out, committed and everything. What do you have other than that? And I realized that eventually, it was actually just the past 2 weeks, past couple weeks, where I was writing the scripts for the 12 video series, because one song for each video can try to tell a story. And I realized that what was really going on was I had lost the person that I used to be, which was this person that needed other people to tell him who he was.
Yeah.
And that he was valuable and worth something. And I was afraid to claim my own identity and to step into my own power.
Yeah.
And it was so that and this album is like documenting the ways in which I thought I had an identity, and the ways in which those things were ripped away from me. So the ways that I specifically looked for other people to tell me who I was were, in romantic relationships, and in my family, and then, authority figure relationships within my family or church, or within church, just in the different beliefs there and that kind of stuff. And all those things got ripped away from me over time. And so this album has really become, in a lot of ways, more so about the ultimate loss of that. And what was very strange was that when I was writing the script for the first music video, which we're filming the second day of on May 11th, I realized this reminds me of like the stages of grief. Yeah. I looked it up. And I looked up those 7 stages, and I realized I had organized my whole album like in perfect order for that. And I was like, that's really weird. Like, that's really weird. Yeah. So, but it was kind of perfect, and it kind of was one of those moments where you're like, okay, I somehow am connected with something else that's going on here. I have a level of deeper knowledge about what's happening. And if I continue to follow that and trust that, this is going to lead me to the right place.
Yeah, no, I had a chance to listen. Shout outs to Erica at Muddy Paw. I want to give her a shout. Probably will shout her out many times in this interview, but like, she sent it over, and I mean, like, I connect with a lot of my artists that I have on here and stuff like that, but like, when I listen to your stuff, like, just because of the story, and like, I had a feeling that it was kind of a similar, like, we lived a similar, stage of life. And so like, when I was listening to this stuff, I was like, this seems so like real, to the point where like, I'm like, I know I've lived this before. Like it was like a very like, I want to say it was like very eerie, because I was like listening to it here at my desk, and I like, it just felt really odd, because I was like, man, I like have been in this exact same position before. And so I did feel this like, I did feel this kinship towards it, because it does feel so so relevant to how I lived my life in the past and stuff like that. And so,
Mm.
I'm glad that you kind of, relate it to the stages of grief, because that's kind of similarly to how I felt as well. And so like it's cool that it wasn't cognitive that you wanted to do it, but it just somehow made a way to do it that way. And so I feel like it tells a great story, and I think I might be slightly biased because I've lived it, but I did feel a certain like it was just so strange. It was like the strangest feeling I probably have. Well, top 10 strangest experiences I've experienced listening to music, and
Mm.
and it was just so like, the way that you kind of allude to certain things and like the way that your writing is and stuff like that, it definitely painted a picture in my head of like how I experienced it, and almost to a point where it was like, I remember, it almost took me back to that point, in my life when that existed and stuff. And
Mm.
it was very weird. It was very weird, but like, I can't expect other people to, maybe there's people out there that experience the same things that I've experienced and the same things as you experienced, and they'll probably find that sort of like, attachment to it. But like, I honestly, like, truly, I was like stunned. Like, I like literally put my headphones down and I was like, what did I just listen to? Like, this was so real life that it was too good to be true, like, almost, in a sense. Like, I don't want to
Thanks.
like discount your grief at all, but like, it was just so strange in the best way
Yeah.
possible,
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you saying that, man. I mean, that's one of my biggest goals, is to be able to create something that is honest, that, people will know, like, I'm not alone,
Yeah.
like there are other people who've gone through this. Because I know what it's like to feel that way, to
Yeah.
feel like I'm the only person who really gets what it was like to go through something like this. And, people won't understand that experience. And then, there was, for me, there were some bands like Gunger,
Yeah.
was a really big one that kind of helped me to have a similar type of experience where, because he grew up, super, super Christian. I don't know how much you know of his story, but like now, they're very much not. But their music still plays. It still has so many of these very spiritual sort of aspects to it, while still having moved on, but still like having a weird connection to it. And it's very interesting. So I appreciate you saying that. I mean, I really want my music to be able to encourage people.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was so weird about the first song, was that originally I was thinking it might be the right song to put at the end of the album. But I realized there was a way in which putting it at the beginning might make more sense, simply because it's almost a foreshadowing of sorts with my
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
because especially the second verse, it says, from time to time I think of how it used to be. From time to time I think of how I thought I could see, how I thought I knew how everything was going to go and play out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then, from there it goes into the chorus. It's like, but I can't say which way the wind will blow, or if the stars will come out tomorrow. I can't say how it is or how it will be, because that's not up to me. But I can say that everything's going to get better, that everything's going to be all right. One day we'll wake up and this will be a dream. And I just, I wrote that when I was 19. It's just so weird to look back on it now and to be like, yeah, that was like, imagining that person back then it does totally feel like a dream.
Yeah.
But, it was a crucial part of my development too. And like, in a weird way, I'm grateful for that, but I'm also glad that I'm, very much not there anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's like interesting to ride the line between like reality. I like, that's what I've always liked about like artists, is that their way of like weaving between like reality and like artistry. There's just something about it
mhm.
that like, the streams connect, and there's something that like rides in between it. And I know we were talking, we've been kind of like alluding to the whole religion thing, and we just talked about it obviously, but like, I feel like if you are not religious, you'll still get a lot of meaning out of it. But like, if you do know how that is and you've experienced that, then I feel like it offers a larger meaning and stuff like that to like a person that
Mm.
has been in our positions before, and so like I
Yeah.
appreciate that it's not like so tailored, but at the same point, it's like if you know, kind of a situation, and if you don't, like,
Mm,
it still can have a lot of meaning. And like I said, it's the cool way between like artistry, reality, kind of a thing where they meet. So I'm
yeah.
excited to check out the rest of it because again, that one struck me so well. So I'm curious if the rest of the record is really good. I'm gonna be like on the floor crying or something by the time I'm done with it, I imagine. But
There's
but
yeah the it's I mean I would love to know what you think, man. I'm super curious, especially of people who share that journey. You know,
yeah,
one of the things that I thought was to me, it was kind of encouraging. You know, when I realized that it was less about being like anti-religion. You know, it was more about like kind of shedding that old identity or the things that you're holding on to, almost like your coping mechanisms for feeling okay, and then
yeah.
coming into your own. That's something that, you know, I think in many ways people from all walks of life can resonate with
Oh,
through
100%.
different types of experiences. But I do agree, like if there's specifically a lot of the ways in which that impacted me was through the religious aspect of it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, the types of styles go from everything from this type of, you know, pop influenced rock ballad to like this. The next two songs are very like top 40s modern pop from like 1975 with a little bit of actually my track three, which I probably my favorite song on the album. That actually features my close friend Gurpreet Serene. He was actually on American Idol back in I think
Oh, very cool.
2009 or something. He's amazing. He's a Sikh, and he is just this incredible North Indian classically trained traditional what is it North Indian classically trained singer, and he plays the tabla as well, and he's just
Oh,
kick
that's
ass on
sick.
both of them. So he comes in and just like crushes it with this incredible parts, singing and playing the tabla on that song, and I think it's probably my favorite part on the whole album. But you know, everything else, it takes a lot of left turns. You know, after that, there's like a very Hillsong-esque kind of love song. There's like a Steve Winwood Higher Love / Toto kind of song on there
Okay,
with a
okay,
riff
yeah.
guitar solo, and some, you know, heavy percussive vibes, and then it goes into like ex Ambassadors style stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then it's like left hand into or left turn into Coldplay and Sufjan Stevens a little bit, and then
Nice.
it ends with like a piano and vocal, very naked kind of you know, Billy Joel almost kind of tune.
Yeah, or like a John Legend kind of
Yeah,
vibe. Yeah. So,
yeah.
excited to go through the journey. I'm sure Erica will send it over. So I'll have to check it out. But I don't know if you kind of answered this, Luke. You know, you said your favorite song, but what song would you recommend to new listeners of LJR that kind of like I would say like runs the gambit of the record? I know that's considering what you just said. I would imagine that's kind of a broad brushstroke, but is there any song that you feel like people should listen to right off the bat that you're like real sold on?
So I guess it all depends on two things. It depends on when. It depends on what the person who's what whoever you listener. Now that we're addressing you directly, listener, whatever whatever you like. So depending on what that is, whatever your favorite style is, that may determine a lot of that. But in terms of what is the best overarching song, I guess it also depends on like when the episode goes out, right? Because if there's only one song, then
It'll be
maybe two
out. It'll be
songs. Then
out
there's
in the end of July.
yeah.
So
Oh, Algin. Okay, so then right around there, there should be about 3 songs. There may be actually be 4 out by then. So I'd say of all of those, the one that's probably the most characteristic of the message of the album is going to be the first one, I Can't Say. And
yeah.
then the next 3 kind of go into some of the ways in which my unhealthy patterns of relating in romantic relationships played in. So I would say if you're looking for lyrical themes, those would be kind of where that goes. So yeah.
There we go.
But
Well, anyway,
yeah.
go shoot, Luke. You were gonna say something, so I cut you off.
Oh yeah. No, you're good. I was gonna say Like the second one has a little bit of a band Camino, almost a little bit of a One Direction vibe, almost like that. Those two kind of mesh together. And then the fourth one is that like percussive, Steve Winwood, Higher Love kind of Toto guitar piece. So there's actually one part of that song that is specifically influenced by Africa by Toto.
Ooh, okay. Nice.
Which people apparently like. I always think it'll be super obvious and no one ever notices. And even when I point out, they're like, "No, I don't really hear it." I'm like, "Okay," and that's great because like I didn't copy anything, but it's like
inspired by, I got you. Yeah. So we'll have to check them all out, guys. I think, like as Luke said, probably be 4 tracks out, so go give them a listen. I'll leave them in the description, so go check them out. But the next question, Luke, who influences you musically? You kind of talked about it a little bit, but who kind of got you started out in music originally, like influenced your playing, your ability to make music, and then who influences you more currently in terms of like either stuff you're writing currently or even the record as well?
Yeah. So I think my biggest influences growing up were Hillsong, because that was the worship music I was soaked in church. And all the surrounding, groups within that. Although I tended to stay away from CCM, because I didn't really like that stuff as much. And Hillsong was never like actually on CCM radio back then, which is so interesting because it was definitely way better music in my opinion than standard CCM stuff. But Coldplay was really big for me in high school. That's where a lot of my sound from the second half of the record comes from, I would say. And then Peter Gabriel and Lifehouse were probably the biggest ones that like heavily influenced my voice and the way that I try to sing tone wise. And even some of the way that I intonate. People have often told me that I sing like I'm somebody from like the UK or something, or because of how I like say vowel sounds.
I could hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a compliment because I normally like that style, which I guess maybe it's, and Hillsong, is from Australia, right? So I guess that's probably where a lot of that came from too. And so that's I think the biggest ones for me growing up. And then more recently, I'd say I've gotten a lot more into some like more modern pop stuff, like the 1975 has been really big.
Nice.
I also really like Recent Rumors. Those are really good. There's a couple others. Laney is good. I actually don't know if it's Laney or Lanny, but Lany.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I think it's it's Laney. I want to say.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. I hope I'm right.
Nice. Yes. And then I think there's one or two other ones I really like. Who else is on my running playlists? Well, Sub Radio is really good. They're actually some friends of mine, but I definitely recommend checking them out. They're really starting to get some traction, which is cool. Pretty dope. But they're a super talented group from this area. I love their stuff.
There we go. Well, I feel like at least I always have this mental game in my head. Like I listen to the stuff, obviously, Luke, and I was trying to like put my head to the drawing board and trying to figure out like what bands at least I think you're influenced by. I was like totally blanking, but you said Lifehouse, and that was like the one that I was like, you know what, he definitely has that like Lifehouse, like the sounds, especially like vocally, I feel like kind of are in that lane. I do, like I said earlier, I do get the whole like British UK kind of like vowel pronunciations. I don't feel like it's like heavy, but you can tell it's there. I feel like definitely like Lighthouse. I'd say definitely Coldplay is another one, and I'd probably say in terms of like a more modern band, I feel like you definitely kind of bring some aspects of like either like the 1975 or like the band Camino, those sort of like rock pop. I guess they're kind of like pop rock. I don't know. I'm not a genre aficionado here, but like I feel like you kind of take vibes from like early 2000s like pop rock kind of stuff, and you take kind of like more modern like anything from like the 1975 to like the band Camino, which is like 2020 like pop rock kind of stuff,
right?
So
no, thanks, man. It's definitely high compliments. I'm excited to see what you think of the rest of the stuff, because it's a lot of genre changes. So
there we go.
match up there.
Awesome. The next question, Luke, you did allude to it earlier. You did play a lot of cover songs on YouTube, but if there was another cover song you could do right now, what would be one of your choices?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a number of songs that I've wanted to cover. I'm trying to remember which one. And why can't I think of? I have a whole list, but like if I were to access the list, I'd close the Google Meet. Like, I don't want to do that. Let's see, what's one that I've been wanting to do for a while. Oh, well, so I really like one of my favorite bands these days. I totally forgot to mention is Mariana's Trench.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah, I love their stuff. I saw them live in Baltimore at the Soundstage. While I guess pre-COVID now, which is weird to think it was that long ago.
Yeah, I know.
Right. But yeah, they had a song called "Rhythm of Your Heart," which I thought was really cool.
Oh yeah, nice.
Oh, sorry, I know what it is. So, "Watermelon Sugar" by Harry Styles. I really like that song, and I tend to like to, if any of the listeners listen to my covers, a lot of the ones that I'll do that are very different from the originals, I tend to take like let's slow this down a lot and add a lot of nostalgia and longing and ethereal sounds to that. That's typically my vibe. And I was dating this girl briefly, and she told me about this song. It was her favorite song at the time. And I was just like, this is a pretty cool song.
Yeah.
And then one day on my run, I just thought, like, what would happen if you slowed this song down? So I was thinking about, like, oh, I could do this cover, like I could do a cover of this song, and she'd like think it was super hot and blah blah whatever, right? You know how that goes. So, and it didn't work out, but it didn't last. But so I never actually did the cover, but it's a really cool song, and I liked the concept. And when I slowed it down, it just made so much sense. It was almost like in my head anyway, it would be like Adam Lambert's performance of Mad World.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Idol, you know how it's like these soaring vocals and it's like kind of slowed down and that kind of vibe. Take that and combine with Watermelon Sugar, and I think that could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
I feel that
very, like, orchestral and building, and these synths and like these big swells and belting vocals and stuff. It'd be cool.
There we go. Well, guys, if you want to see this happen, don't bug Luke real hard, but like gingerly like slide into those DMs and say like, hey, Luke, you gonna do that cover? So I mean, listen, it's on the internet. Eventually someone's gonna come after you and ask you to do this cover. So I mean, I feel like I had to give it the cosign. I feel like that'd be really cool to hear like a slowed down version of Watermelon Sugar. But like, listen, I'm one of your fans, but I'm not like, I won't be hopping into the DMs, but if people want to do it, more than willing to. Just do it nicely. But the next question, Luke, another fun one. Favorite food to eat? What is your go-to?
Ooh, well, my go-to these days is definitely like stuffed burgers that are homemade. So I'm the kind of guy that will go out and like buy a ton of hamburgers, split it up into like smaller little packages, and freeze them so that I can just like take out just the amount that I want, right? And defrost it for the burgers, and then you just like you mix in a bunch of Italian seasonings, salt and pepper, and I add some cayenne pepper in there too.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then you spread it out, and you put all this like grated cheese in the middle, and you can like close it up, and then you just heat up the oil in the pan. Drizzle a little bit of it in there, and then put your thing in there, cheese down, so that it doesn't like separate and everything.
Yeah.
Do it about four-ish minutes on each side, 4 to 5. And then you can add like caramelized onions with barbecue sauce on top, and that's super good, especially with some potato wedges with like Southwest size salt, pepper, olive oil, like broiled in the oven for 25-30 minutes. Oh my god, so good. And then the key is that you make a special sauce.
I got you. Yeah.
My friend Jake and I, we've perfected this sauce over the years, but the basic ingredients are barbecue sauce and mayonnaise. And lately, since we haven't had mayonnaise, because I guess we just keep forgetting it every time we go to the store. I literally went to the store 2 days ago and I forgot.
Didn't think about mayonnaise.
Yeah, I forgot completely. But I think actually what we do now might even be better. We do barbecue sauce, cream cheese, sour cream if we have it.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty good. Some cayenne pepper, a little bit of brown sugar, and a little bit of chili powder. And then usually you have to warm up the cream cheese a little bit to get it to all mixed properly. But man, it's really good. And sometimes like a little tiny bit of cinnamon that almost makes it Christmassy, but not really. And then you use that as your dipping sauce for the fries. And that is like, And don't forget, of course, some garlic aioli on the burger buns.
Yeah, you got to.
Those. Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to go drive down to Maryland right now. So if you can get me a burger rocking, that'd be great.
Dude, welcome anytime.
But that sounds great. I feel like a lot of people may or may not know this, but I also am a home cook as well. So like, I totally know, I know the vibe. So you definitely got it on lock for sure. That sounds absolutely delicious. Who doesn't like a good like potato wedge in the oven, man? That is like the stuff. My girlfriend bought a bunch of like Pampered Chef like seasoning, and we had one which I'll say is very dangerous. And this is no plug to Pampered Chef. If Pampered Chef wants to sponsor me, that'd be great. But like, they make like a ranch like seasoning. And I will like put potato wedges in the oven, and then when they're hot, and I throw a little bit more oil on top just to like make sure like the coating sticks and stuff. I'll put some of that ranch powder on there with some like black pepper and some like chili powder. Très magnifique. It's great. So.
Oh man, yeah. You always got to put the oil on first, because otherwise, how in the world are the seasonings going to stick to it?
Oh, I know. You're right. So definitely next time Luke and I chat, we're actually just going to be doing like a cooking show. So like, guys, get ready.
Exactly. It'll be in person. We'll be cooking and sharing our experiences about how we left church long ago
and grilling some burgers,
Exactly.
Let's go. Let's make it happen, guys. But the next question, Luke, if you were to pick somebody to collaborate with on an up and coming LJR record, who would you want to have featured?
Just like anybody?
Dream guest. We manifest these things. So let's see what you can do.
I mean, I would say probably the person I would like to work with the most is probably Chris Martin from Coldplay. That's probably who I would pick, because I just love the things he comes up with. So yeah, that's probably my number one pick. I'm sure there are different points in my life when I would like to work with Peter Gabriel or other people like that, but at least right now I feel like that's kind of the number one guy.
There we go, guys. Well, you know the deal. If you've been on the channel for long enough, you already know. But what you have to do is you have to take your phone out, or you have to go on the computer. You have to type in twitter.com, and then you make sure to set up a tweet. You tag our lovely friend Luke in the tweet, LJR, I imagine, on Twitter. So go make that happen.
Luke J. Roberts, yeah.
Luke J. Roberts on Twitter, and then you tag Coldplay or Chris Martin or both of them. I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but if you want to make it happen, manifest these things, you go do that. And then after that, you say collab ? And then I feel like it's like written in stone at that point. So if you want to make it happen, you want to manifest that stuff, listen, you already know the vibe. So let's make it happen for our good friend Luke here. I would be stoked because Chris Martin and Luke, that'd be some good stuff. So make it happen, guys. I know you guys are smart, intelligent. You can do it. So let's make it happen. But the next question, Luke, you play a bunch of different instruments. You obviously sing as well. But if there was another one you could master, what would it be?
Probably guitar, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of those things that it's kind of funny too, because like I do play guitar in some of my videos, and by play guitar I mean I pick very simple notes that are the right notes that are very easy to do, but then it looks like I play guitar, and it's like it's epic lighting or whatever, so it looks, fancy, like I know what I'm doing, and I know what I'm doing with those notes. But like if you told me to play like a C chord on the guitar, I couldn't do that. I can do it on piano and that kind of stuff. Piano and drums, like I'm pretty decent with those. Drums is probably my best. Singing is the one that I'm like really going for. I've had to do a lot of development of my voice, especially the past couple of years, to get to where I've wanted to be. I'm still not where I really want to be yet, but working on that. But I'd say guitar because there's a way in which you can just like wail on the guitar, just bring all this like, you know, all this just pure like juicy nastiness into stuff.
Oh, I got
you
you.
know? Like
Yeah.
I would love to be able to do that. So, but sadly, there's not enough time in the world to do all things. You know, I can't be all things to all people, or as some might say, you know, I can't always be to the Jews. I can't. Well, why can't I think of the line? This is always frustrating and encouraging to me at the same time. When like ever I forget scripture verses because it's like I used to know this stuff.
I feel.
And
Listen,
sometimes
you
it's not,
you already
it's
know.
gone.
I know the
But
vibes.
to the there it is. To the Jews, I become like the Jews. To the Gentiles, I become like the Gentiles. Yeah, not enough time for everything.
I feel that. I actually during quarantine, I've been playing guitar for like 15 years now or something like that.
Sweet.
And I just bought a bass recently because I was like, oh, I play guitar, so like, you know, bass, guitar, they're kind of in the same
Right. Same
family.
thing.
So I picked up a bass and I've been like loving it. So
Nice.
I would highly recommend to. I know you listen. I know the vibes about having not enough hours in a day, and I spend most of the hours of my life doing this, which is wonderful. But definitely, if you guys are watching this and you're like, man, I'd love to pick up an instrument, just go out and buy one. You know, go
Totally.
enjoy it. Just enjoy it. I think it's a great thing to learn. You know, it's a
Yeah.
stress reliever. So
Huge.
enjoy
Yeah.
more music.
I totally never thought I'd be a singer, honestly. I mean, just like, you know, we talked about earlier, you know, being so scared to like even sing in my pillow or whatever, you know, thinking it was, you know, not something that I was meant to do. And then, you know, going through all the challenges of like, how do you, you know, listen to your own voice and not just like abhor it, you know,
I
like
know.
that's really hard. Right. So, and eventually, and then there was a time where like in high school and early college and like up to mid college, like I really liked my voice. I had gotten to that point. And then there was a number of years after that, and especially when I started going full time or trying to go full time with my music, I just didn't like my voice anymore. I felt like it had changed a lot. I couldn't do what I thought I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'd made some improvements. It actually made it sound worse, or at least it was in the really awful part of like learning the new stuff that would make it more healthy. And
yeah,
it was very painful. But now I'm really happy with where things are. And there's like so much room to grow, so much more that I want to do, in ways that I can improve. But, you know, I never thought I'd be here. So anybody listening, you know, absolutely. It's just because you're, you know, 30 or 40 even, like, doesn't mean that you can't start, you know, learning something new. I actually have a couple friends who were like submitting their plays to be like, or their scripts for like musicals. Yeah. And they're 60 years old, you know, and they're actually getting some traction. And that's the coolest part is like, you know, when you really start to pursue your dreams now, it can happen. Another friend of mine is 70 and she's like launching her music career, doing jazz stuff. And she's got a classic, you know, kind of voice. Jazz makes me think of like Diane Rehm from like NPR or something, you know?
Yeah, no, I kind of feel the same way about like when I started doing the channel. I was like, you know, when you sit here and you edit your videos and you're listening to yourself, you're like, I don't want to hear myself. Who wants to like, I want to hear my own fucking voice, you know? So, but like, you know, at the same point, I'm like, you know, it still makes me want to continue to do it, still push. And so like, you know, listen, if Luke knows he was singing into a pill and now he is, you know, releasing a debut record. So I feel like, you know, if you can make that like trajectory of change, you know, like the story arc is great with Luke. So, you know, if you can make that story arc, man, listen, I think Luke, you know, if Luke can do it, I feel like you can do it, you know?
Totally.
But the next question, Luke, my personal favorite, because I'm a nerd and I love asking it, if you could be a video game character, who would you be?
Ooh, let's see. Well, so this is where I actually do like video games, although I haven't played them in a while. I grew up playing a lot of like a lot of very few games. Like I probably had 3 or 4 games, maybe 4 or 5 games that were like my favorite games that I would play for forever. And then other than that, I would hardly play anything. It'd be hard to find anything. Let's see. So let's go through these. So let's see. High school favorite was Age of Empires 2. I was
okay. Yeah.
I was pretty good. Pretty proud of that. if people beat me, my ego would definitely be bruised at that. And then let's see, Freelancer was a big one, but those aren't like iconic video game character ones. Minecraft, of course, you know that.
Oh yeah.
I got into that in grad school, and I was like all into that. And then let's see, other than that, probably Halo and Super Smash Brothers. Only the N64 version, actually. I've like stuck with that version only exclusively, which is kind of funny. My friend Jake and I will play that until late hours of the night still on my projector, you know. And we just replaced the controllers. You know, you can replace your N64 controllers with GameCube controllers.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, GameCube, the joysticks. You can replace them with like
joysticks, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that. It's like all the shitty joysticks that like broke over the years. You can be like better than they were before.
Or you could have like, or if you've ever played Mario Party where you just had like the joystick and you had to go like this on the old N64 controller, and you would have like some sort of like hand injuries after you're finished. I totally get that. Listen, I know the vibes. So,
I'd say in answer to your question, probably Master Chief. That'd probably be who I would be, because he's the most badass, and I just love that. And I think when I've imagined cosplaying, because of course I have, I actually used to do a lot of like costume stuff back in high school. I built like I made whole Lord of the Rings outfits, like armors, like the second age elves and the Rohirrim from the second movie, The Two Towers, extended editions only. Thank you. And it was all from like cardboard and duct tape, but it actually looked like I spray painted it so it looked like it was actually shiny metal and stuff. And I was pretty proud of it. So it took me about 40 hours for each set. But I think if I were to cosplay, I'd cosplay as Master Chief now, and just like figure out a way to 3D print all that stuff and use my engineering background to like, add some LEDs and, some little sound effects and whatever, Arduino processing and cool, shit like that with servos and motors and blah, blah. So probably I'd say Master Chief.
That would be great. I feel like, listen, I would love to see the Master Chief cosplay. I always think about doing that sort of stuff, but like, I don't know, maybe one day if I make it to like 100,000 subscribers or something, I'll cosplay as something that people want to see me in. So make sure that goal happens. Sick. Listen, I don't know if you want to see that. If you want to see me cosplay as like a video game character, get me to 100,000 subs and I'll do a stream or something.
Hey, you gotta manifest it. So who would you cosplay as? We can put this out. And who would you cosplay with?
That's good. If my girlfriend would co-sign, then I'd probably say with her, because like I feel like I gotta do that, as a boyfriend, I gotta do that.
Right, for sure.
I feel like for myself, listen, I gotta go with the tried and true classic. I'm a Pokemon fan by heart. I love Pokemon, so I'd probably say the second generation Pokemon trainer. I believe his name is Brendan, which is ironic because my name's Brandon. So I feel like I gotta, it's fate, that I have to cosplay as him. So I cosplay as Brendan from Pokemon Gold and Silver. So if you guys want to make that happen, if you want to make that happen somehow, I don't know. If you want to see that, let me know. But the next question, Luke, if you were to compile a dream tour lineup, including yourself, who would you want to have on your tour with you?
Oh, wow. Let's see. Well, the first group that comes to my mind, let's see. There's a couple that would be sick. I haven't seen all these people perform live. I've seen some videos of some of them, so that might change depending on how they perform live. Sure. Like I thought Mariana Trench was great. I love their stuff, and their live performance was cool, but it wasn't as engaging as I would have liked it to be. And I mean, they tour constantly, so I'm sure it makes sense that they're exhausted. Yeah. But in terms of groups that I've seen that would really just like, holy shit, I'd love to be up there and be part of that. U2 would be huge. Oh. Because the way that just they engage with everybody and the way that Bono, interacts with people is just so inspiring to me. From the way that I imagine they are on stage, I really one of my favorite bands these days, I forgot to mention, is the band Camino. Yes. Their song Daphne Blue was like one of my favorites. And then they did an acoustic version of that as well, and that one just kicked ass. So I'd love to tour with them. and I want to say it's either the band Camino, or maybe there's one other group. I forget which one it is, but one of them has a lead singer whose name is Luke as well. And that wouldn't be why I'd pick them, but that would be kind of funny if we did end up with doing that together. What was was that the band Camino? It might have been the band Camino.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say probably them. Other than that, I don't know. I'd have to do more research into it. Part of the thing that's kind of weird with me is that because I grew up super Christian, all I listened to was worship music for a long time. So I don't have like the favorite secular bands from when I was, 6th and 7th grade that led up through high school. It started to get into some bands in high school that were more secular, but that was pretty much exclusively Coldplay and Peter Gabriel, because those were the bands that my youth group included as part of our, we do these plays that were, of course, meant to be things that would inspire people to see why they needed Jesus and then believe the gospel on Friday nights. And we would spend like forever getting these things together and practicing and all that kind of stuff. And some of that music we would use. I don't think that we got the licensing for it, which is a whole separate like ethical issue that I didn't even realize till just now, as I'm looking at licensing my songs with sync and other things like that. I was like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like this, church is doing that. So I don't know. I mean,
that's a whole nother topic for another day.
We're not even going there.
Well, I totally get that. So, but the lineup, great. I feel like a YouTube band Camino LJR tour would be fantastic if you guys want to make that happen. Same thing as the Twitter thing from earlier. If you want to make that shit a reality, that would be awesome.
Sick.
Next question, Luke. Favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Let's see. So I think my favorite of all time TV show would probably, let me just make sure before I say this, because I'm pretty sure this is accurate. I don't know. Favorites in terms of number of times watched through, or favorite in terms of like one that I think is my favorite?
I would say, man, that's tough. I feel like I would probably say the most enjoyment you've gotten out of like a TV series. Same with movie, like the one that you like in your heart of hearts you go back to and you're like, I love this movie, or I love this TV show.
Okay. Then I would say we're probably looking at Battlestar Galactica for the TV show, like the one that they came out with. I don't know, back in 2008 or something, 2009.
Yeah.
That one was just like so kick ass, and that one I've watched a couple of times. I like Game of Thrones a lot, and that's probably like my close seconds. But I haven't felt an inkling to go back and like watch it again yet.
Sure, yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe I will. I don't know. But in terms of movies, let's see. Honestly, I'd probably say the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's probably my favorite. Extended editions, not including The Hobbit. It's not that I didn't. I mean, the first one of The Hobbit, that was actually pretty good, but then the second two just really kind of took it a different direction. I still enjoyed them, but I remember being bored and being like, okay, well, I don't remember this happening. This seems a little bit overblown. But yeah, so I'd say Lord of the Rings.
There we go. That's a classic. I love Lord of the Rings as well, so I feel that a lot. That's great series of movies. I haven't watched them in a while, so maybe I'll have to go back and rewatch them again. I know they hold up well, so I'm not really worried about that, but I'll have to rewatch and let you know. But the next question, Luke, if you were trapped on a desert island for the next month and there was one record you could bring with you to listen to, what would it be?
Ooh. You have a very, very specific and different questions. This is great.
Thank you. I try to keep it interesting,
Yeah. Let's see. Who would I think one record. Oh God. So now I'm thinking like, I want a lot of songs in this record, and it makes me think back to like when Weird Al Yankovic would release records that would have like 20 songs on them.
Oh yeah.
Nobody does that anymore, other than like the random indie artists that like no one has ever heard of. Let's see. I'd probably say the 1975.
Oh, okay.
I'd go for. Yeah.
There we go. Well, Luke has you know, it's a month. I feel like people can nominally get through a month listening to one record, you know? I feel like that's
Yeah,
not,
it's
if I
like
said of all
barely.
time, I feel like I'd be a big dickhead, you know, for asking for like all time. You know, that's a tough
Right.
question, you know,
That would
but
be, yeah.
I feel like a month, you know, it's a little push, but you could do it, you know?
Right. It's like solitary confinement. Like you could,
Yeah.
how long could you do it for? You know, if you were paid $1 million, would you go in for a year?
Who knows?
5 million?
Listen, I would do it for $1 million. I don't care. I'd listen. I would probably do that. Why not? You know,
I
million
mean, that's
dollars. Shit,
that's what
I'll
you
take
think,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I've heard. I mean, I'm not no expert in this at all, but I've heard it can get really, like, we don't understand how much of an impact it has on a person to be alone,
Yeah,
like that alone.
that's true.
Without getting too deep.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be alone.
Oh, I used to know what that's like, and now I have a cat that's currently lounging on my bed right now. So I totally get the not as lonely, but you know, people have video chat and we do this shit, so you know,
Yeah,
can't be
no,
lonely.
totally.
But
And COVID's like supposedly almost over, so
fingers
we'll
crossed,
see.
man. Fingers crossed. I'm
Fingers
hoping,
crossed.
hoping, hoping. But
Yeah.
the last thing, Luke, I've been asking a lot of my artists I've had on recently this question: what do you want people to take away from your music? You know, LGR, whether it be from a musical perspective, a lyrical perspective, or a combination of the two. You know, what do you want new listeners to take away from you, your message, or just your personality or persona, stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is, I want people to come away from my music feeling encouraged, that there's a sense of hope, um, and I would want it to come from a place of, being able to connect with something that they've always wanted to believe was there inside of themselves, and maybe did believe as a kid was there, but have just lost that over the years. But to find a way back to that, to be able to connect with something, so life-giving within themselves, that they find a way to fully be alive.
There we go. Well, guys, listen, you already know the vibes. Go check out Luke. He's going to tell you where you can find him out on social media, what he has coming up, you know, anything else you'd like to plug or talk about. The floor is yours, Luke. Tell them where they can find you at.
Sweet. Yeah, so I guess there's a couple different things going on. Facebook, pretty much everywhere, is Luke Justin Roberts, except for Twitter, which cut me off by a character. So I had to, it was Luke Justin Robert, and I was like, I don't want that. So I changed it to Luke J. Roberts, which was short enough. And then, for the music and everything, there's 12 songs coming out in this album. The album's called When the Sky Began to Fall. And it's one song per month that's coming out. So the first one, came out April 30th. So the next one's coming out May 30th is the plan. There's a lot of stuff that's going into like all this stuff and trying to manage everything and
Oh, I know.
blah, blah, blah. So I'm hopeful. We'll see if it gets pushed back a little bit, but especially with the songs being this one and the next one being very like summer vibes, I want to get it out there. Yeah, so 12 songs coming up there. There's an Indiegogo campaign that I just launched on Sunday.
Very
To
cool.
really finish out the album and do that properly, we need to raise $30,000 to kind of make everything happen. So if you guys want to contribute to that, there's lots of cool perks in there. Everything from, getting your name in the album inserts, at different sizes and with different titles, to, getting the physical album when it comes out. I will be doing some cool ass CDs, and then signed lyric sheets and stuff like that, different experiences. So like if you guys want to come hang out in a music video set, or there's a private release party that's going to happen, that kind of stuff. Yeah, everything's on there, and every little bit helps. So really appreciate it. There's also a lot in there in terms of like, what is the album about? How am I doing things from a business standpoint? So if you're an artist, you may find some of that really interesting. The explanation video for like, this is what it's about. It's like 13 minutes long, because I go into like literally this is how all of the money is going to be spent and why each of those things matters. Because there's a lot more that goes into an album than just creating the songs, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the biggest things. But yeah, probably the place I'm most active right now. Oh, actually, there's a Facebook group too if people want to jump in there. And if you jump in there, you can get a free 18 by 24-inch poster, and like some stickers and stuff like that. Normally, I call it a syndicate pack because the group's called the LJR Syndicate. And normally I sell it for like $35 with the stickers and everything, and the huge poster. But people who are part of the syndicate group, normally they have to go in like through the whole like funnel thing and ads and everything. But they get it for free. They just cover the shipping for like $10. So it's a cool way to get some free merch, and to get a lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of exclusive live streams in there. I might actually pick your brain, Brandon, on some live streaming stuff, because I've only been doing like Facebook stuff, and I can tell like with this gas screen you got, you're definitely like a streamer, not just somebody who does the YouTube videos. So,
I am.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to chat.
Awesome. Well, again, I want to give a major shout out to Erica. I love Muddy Paw so much. I know I talk about them a lot. You guys are probably tired about it, but like they're the best. Love those gals. They're awesome. So go check them out. But more importantly, the reason why you're here, go check out LJR, Luke, my boy, my guy. So go give him some love. All of the links will be in the description, where you can find out about his music, his band, his Patreon, his Indiegogo, his OnlyFans, all that shit. It's all going to be down there. Go check it out. Go show this man some love. And if you want to make that collab happen with Chris Martin and LJR, you already know. Manifest that shit. So let's make it happen, and go do that. And if you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe, share it. It means the absolute world. And thank you guys for just hanging out, watching, chatting. And massive thanks to Luke for coming on tonight to talk.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate you, man.